Red Ray Gun Limited presents
The Benji and Nick Show.
Hello.
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 Good morning.
Good day.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good night.
Good. No.
Ah, goodness.
Loch Ness.
Oh, well, there we go. That was the...
No, you should. I should have said goodness, and you should have said Loch Ness.
Oh,
So-
damn. Oh, I'll give you that one.
You just accidentally let me
Ju-
win because neither of us could remember the rules
Just completely backfired. Never mind.
of the Loch Ness game, which isn't a game, and it isn't about Loch Ness.
But this is the Benji and Nick Show, your number one vintage and retro vintage television show.
Thingy.
Podcast. We talk about retro TV.
What are we talking about?
I'm just gibbering on now. Talk about TV from the past. TV
You're
you
an
might remember.
actual
TV
chimp.
you might want to forget. All these things, really. You might discover something new. You might discover something new that you don't like. We talk about it, riff on it, and yeah, go from there, really.
Yeah.
What are we talking about this week, Nick?
This week, we're talking about Doctor Who Inferno from 1970, and we're doing a commentary of episode 1.
That's it. So you can sit with us, put your feet up, grab a cup of char, and
Get your Infernos ready.
get your Inferno. Yes.
Or if you want a disco beat, we can do Disco Inferno.
Very good, very good.
Once again, we'll be joined by special guest reviewer Shelley Dean from the United States of America. And as usual, hopefully our dear friend Jamie Anderson will be joining us for no particular reason, because life's like that.
This week he'll be at Cobham Services, no doubt. I can't talk right now. I'm in Cobham. Which is, I can think of worse places to be, actually.
Motorway services, for those who don't know what Cobham is.
Of course, yeah, motorway services. There we go. Well, in a moment, your emails sent to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. But first, the Benji and Nick Show is proud to be sponsored by The Village Shop, the online e-store run by the Unmutual website and Coit Media Limited. Your one-stop shop for all things Prisoner, Dangerman, and Patrick McGowan, including DVDs, Blu-rays, books, CDs, audio dramas, clothing, books, homeware, and gifts. I nearly said hardware. New items are added weekly. Benji and Nick Show listeners can enjoy a 10% discount on all purchases by using the code LOCHNESS10 at checkout. It's easy as that. A further donation will also be made to Hope House Children's Hospice at no cost to you. The address for this is www.theprisonershop.co.uk. Theprisonershop.co.uk. There we go. Nick, should we check something out?
Yes. I'm having a look at... do we have an umbrella shooting stick with folding handles?
No, but we ruddy well should do. That sounds rocking.
Yeah. There's one of those. I feel that's too trivial a thing. We've got photos. What have we?
More stuff has been purchased on the used items things. I'm sure I tried to force somebody to buy something from there the other day, and it looks like they have. So there we go.
Yeah, God, the Port Merion Sir Clough Williams Ellis signed book. Port Merion, obviously, where the village was the setting for the village and the prisoner, and also Sir Clough Williams Ellis was the architect of that original 1963 Three Lives of Thomasina press photo, Serious Charge original 1955 theatre programme.
There's some good stuff in there. Let's see if somebody can grab the by next week. We want to see the 3 Lives of Thomasina press photo gone from this used item section, not because we don't like it, but because it'd just be interesting to see if people actually purchase it on our demand.
There's a really new offer through the village shop, which we mentioned last week. As the orchestra finished,
yes, go away, go.
The code is goodness50. GOODNESS, all capitals, no spaces, 50, no space before the 50. That will get you a 50% discount.
50%
on Annette Andre's book. Annette Andre played Jeannie in Randall and Hopkirk and was in various ITC series.
Yeah.
There's a foreword by Roger Moore, and the book's called Where Have I Been All My Life?
Well, she read her book. She might be able to find out. It's all in there. It says everywhere where she's been. Tesco's, Safeways, Gateway food stores. I'm just thinking of all these obscure...
Gateway. There's no such thing as Gateway food stores anymore.
No, they're gone now.
Didn't they turn into Morrison's or something?
Possibly. Could have been Summerfield. They're gone as well, of course.
I think they turned into Morrison's as well. If you stand still long enough, everyone will turn into Morrison's. I've just turned into Morrison's.
God, yeah. Wow, you're at Morrison's Metro, Nick. Is there such a thing as a Morrison's Metro? I don't think there is.
That's Tesco.
It'd be good if there was. It rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Morrison's Metro.
For all our overseas listeners, we're discussing UK supermarkets.
There we go. For all our German listeners here, my favourite German supermarkets are Riva and Netto. There we go. Just wanted to put that out there straight away. Of course, was it
Target?
Target.
Yeah.
Target.
That's what they jokingly called it, yes. Okay, look, here are your emails sent to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. This first one I'll read out, called Utter Nonsense, from Thomas Hodden, so we know what to expect here. This was sent on the 20th of August in the year 1919, the Treaty of Versailles. Evening all. I'm sorry to say that certain higher authorities have been in contact via some pretty scary-looking legal documents to kindly ask if you would cut it out with the time travel experiments for a while.
Damn.
For a little while, in fact. By and large, the authorities are supportive of Mr. Clifford's quest to save lost episodes of classic Doctor Who, prove once and for all there really was an episode of Pugwash starring Seaman Staines and Roger the Cabin Boy, and to have aired the single episode of EastEnders where Sir Patrick Stewart guest starred as Gobby Mitchell, Phil's foul-mouthed football hooligan cousin. However, it is becoming increasingly apparent that Mr. Briggs's faux pas in 1066 has had far-reaching consequences, and your attempts to put it right, although well-meaning, have rippled a little out of control.
Oh dear.
We could overlook the Cunningham's eldest son vanishing after the first season of Happy Days, and nobody batted an eyelid when David Icke started gibbering on about serpent people and the Matrix. But quite frankly, have you seen 2020? Kindly cut it out.
It's your fault, Nick. You're to blame.
Sorry about that. Thanks to you lot, there are only 4 Beatles. Keanu Reeves thinks he's just an actor. Worse than this, Sylvester McCoy was not elected to number 10, and as such, we don't have Prime Minister's Question Time played to the rules of just a minute, which in itself has set history on a wildly chaotic path and disrupted many of the set points of time. Any further violations could be met with a hefty fine. Please be more careful in future. Yours, T.E. Hodden.
I think that's my favourite one. Yeah, I love it. Love it.
Very nice work. Yes, thank you.
What a champion. Always a pleasure.
Thomas.
Always a pleasure. We got one here, Eye Patch Conspiracy Theory Uncovered. This was sent on the 19th of the 8th, 2020, in the year of our Lord 1213. That was the chorus of angels there for all of you listening at home. It says here, morning guys. It could be afternoon. It is afternoon.
It is here, yeah.
I'm pretty pleased that you're going to be doing a commentary on my second favourite eye patch centric Doctor Who series, Inferno. I don't know if anyone else has come across this conspiracy theory of mine, but the whole of Doctor Who features lots of wrong-uns wearing eye patches. It's true. You can spot them a mile off. I think the series is trying to warn us of the dangers of eye patches, a bit like those public information films in the 1970s. We still need to do a public information film special. Here are just a few examples I've come across. The parallel world evil brigadier with eye patch wearing wrong-un from Inferno, of course. Guy Crayford, another eye patching.
Crayford, I say.
Wearing wrong-un.
But Stigron, I speak like this.
Happy Stigron. He's a wrong-un working for Kral in the Android Invasion. The pirate captain, of course, from Pirate Planet. I know it's not technically an eye patch, but it's like a futuristic eye patch. And, he was a wrong-un with a laser-firing parrot. Yeah,
fair enough.
It says it all, really. Madame Kavarian, yes, of course, or Kavarian. The Silencer's #1 eye patch wearing wrong-un. And a baby snatcher to boot, yeah.
I don't remember anything about her.
That was Frances Barber, wasn't it?
Right, okay.
Do you think I'm onto something? Yes, I do.
I think you're on something.
If Davros turns up with an eye patch in the next season, or maybe the Cybermen start wearing eye patches, then my theory will have been proved right. Well, let me blow your mind here, right? Davros, he can't see out of his actual eyes, so he's only got one synthetic eye. Therefore, is that not fairly similar to having an eye patch? It says
I'm just seeing a Cyberman wearing 2 eye patches.
One eye patch with a little tear. on it.
No wonder they're crying. They're eye patches.
Incidentally, my favourite eye patch serial has to be The Android Invasion. If you're lucky enough to own it on DVD, there's a making of documentary presented by Nick Briggs.
There is.
It was certainly strange to see that the voice that I'm used to hearing on a Sunday morning has a body. I tend to think of Nick and Benji as just disembodied voices. Disembodied voices, a bit like the Great Intelligence, but a lot nicer.
Thank you for being so cooperative.
I like the idea, Nick, that once we're brown bread and we're gone, that in our lifetime we somehow find a way of taking our intelligence and
our great intelligence,
putting it into a computer and delivering these podcasts every week for eternity.
Yeah.
It'll probably end up be on some weird algorithm, so it'll be like, hello, you're listening to The Benji and Nick Show. This week we are talking about bananas. And just,
Podcast purgatory.
We have been doomed to podcasts for eternity. There we go. Thanks for the great podcast, and watch out for eye patch wearers. All the best,
Yes.
Neil. Yeah, we'll keep our eyes keep our eye peeled. There we go.
Winky wink. Right. Pay attention, 007. This is sent from Chris Spenceley. It was sent on the 19th of August in the year 0645. Good afternoon, good day, and good gravy, Nick and Benji. I like it. Yes, entering into the spirit there, Chris. Have been thoroughly enjoying the podcast. I have been making a little list from your reviewed series of shows I should share with my currently toddler son as he gets older and hopefully geekier. But we'll see how receptive he is! ! As you have brought up a certain secret agent a few times lately, I thought I might throw you a suggestion as a future review. I know the Climax anthology version of Casino Royale is out there and available, as I was able to rent it from my local video store as a teenager. I recall it being an oddity, but an entertaining one. Maybe you guys can check it out and let us all know. Have a fab day and stay safe. All the best, Chris Spenceley. Is that the American TV version? And James Bond
I've had a little look at this. The 1954 television adaptation of Casino Royale, starring. Let's have a look. I've got it all down here. It's got Barry Nelson as James Bond. That's interesting. Peter Lorre.
Barry Nelson.
Barry Nelson.
Peter Lorre. Peter Lorre. Yeah.
As Lashif. Barry Nelson, I'm just having a look here. Look at this, interesting enough, he was noticed the first ever actor to portray James Bond. He was in, let's see what he's been in. The last thing he was in was
Trouble
in Poltergeist.
Oh.
He was in The Shining. We were already talking about that.
What did he play in The Shining?
Stuart Ullman, whoever that was. Who else has he been in?
I just watched it. I don't remember anyone except Joe Turkel and Shelley Duvall, Jack Nicholson. Oh, was he the boss? I think he was the hotel manager.
I don't know. I've not seen that film for a long time. Yeah, he's been in a few things. It looks like he kind of never quite went out there in terms of massive things, but yeah, he was in The Bourgeois Stick, Seven in Darkness, Airport.
Oh well, he's had a good career.
He did. He started in 1938 and went on till 1982. So fair play to the chap. He was in The Twilight Zone actually. He was in Stopover in a Quiet Town, which is
the one?
Yeah,
which one's that?
Bob and Millie Fraser, average young New Yorkers who attended. I can't be bothered to do the voice. Married couple wake up in an unfamiliar house. Millie remembers that only Bob drank too much at the party night before, that whilst driving him home a large shadow appeared over their car. There you go. So the moral of what you've just seen is clear. If you drink, don't drive. That's the moral of that story. But there we go.
All right.
Is that available? I wonder how available that actually is. Let's have a look to see if you can get that version of Casino Royale on DVD. Or online even, because
I've seen clips of it and it's not something that I'd like to have to put myself through.
It's on YouTube, but in very, very, very low quality.
Is it? I actually can't be bothered to look.
There we go. That shows his enthusiasm. I've got a lot of time for the original Casino Royale with David Niven as well. That's good.
Well,
fun.
it's just a comedy version.
It's just ridiculous. And of course, the new Casino Royale I thought was great at the time. I've not watched it for a long time, but I remember being very impressed with Daniel Craig as James Bond, but very underwhelmed by Judi Dench being a completely different version of M, to the point where her character was a rewrite. Wait, Shelley's just appeared.
I know.
Bonjour, hello.
So, thank you for joining us, Shelley.
Thank you.
Yes, my pleasure, my pleasure.
We were just talking about Casino Royale. It's interestingly, I didn't like it that much because of what's her name? Eva Brick. What's her name?
Which one are you talking about?
Well, you should have known from the name Eva.
I don't know actress
She's
name.
a really famous French actress who's
Eva
in it
Green.
playing- Eva Green, that's right.
What was her character's name? The one that he loved, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
Vesper.
Vesper. Yeah, she was a scooter.
Yeah, Vesper Lind. That's right. Yeah, that was her name though. Not to be confused with Lambretta. Her cousin.
Have you seen Casino
I have
Royale?
not seen it, so I am
Wow.
going to be virtually zero help to this.
Are you familiar with the James Bond films overall?
I've watched, I haven't watched all of them. When I was younger, when, that was like a thing, I watched them. But Spice, it was just never my thing, really.
Shelley doesn't
so.
watch guys' movies. This is the conclusion.
This is not
yeah?
true. This is not true.
Okay, name a guys' movie that you watched.
Really? Okay.
Jane Austen. No.
Jane Austen. The movie Jane Austen.
Yes, Jane Austen.
What?
With David Niven.
I don't know. I don't differentiate between a guy movie and a chick flick. And
neither did I
that
until
kind of
last
thing.
week.
So,
And with you in your hornblower, sort of, I'd watch 10 minutes, but turn it off if you hadn't met.
No. That I wasn't speaking for my entire gender. I was speaking for myself.
No, that's what we're talking about here.
So, I mean, I'm not but then I'm going to contradict myself because I'd say I'm not a big fan of sports films, but then that's not true because there's a lots of, Friday Night Lights was one of my absolute favorite movies, then it turned into a TV show that, and that was like the quintessential sports.
I don't know it at all. Do you, Benji?
Oh, it's about high school football in Texas specifically. Wow. It's where high school football is the be-all, end-all of the entire existence of these towns.
Got you. And by football, I suppose you mean that weird game that Americans play with wearing
American football.
Massive protective suits.
A game that is not at all played with your feet, except for one player every once in a while will kick a ball.
But it's huge, isn't it? It's huge over in the States. It's just absolutely
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, do they call it the World Series or something, or is that
no,
baseball?
I love you. That's baseball.
Okay.
Football is the Super Bowl.
I love the fact that the Americans call baseball, the World Series, and it's only played in America.
Well, it's the same. Yeah, it's the world champs. It's like, no, you're the United States champs. Like, you're not the world's champs.
That is the world.
According to America,
It is quite compelling because I remember when I was in Chicago hanging out on my own at the airport for ages, and so I went to this Goose bar, the IPA bar, and it was quite
Goose bar.
Goose is like a brand of brewers, and I sat at the bar and there was a bunch of other dudes there watching the football, and I had like about 4.5 hours to kill.
Wow. And you were ill as well, weren't you?
I was. No, this was the time before. So I was in
not
good,
the illness story.
Not the illness story.
Not last year.
Last
year was the nightmare. We got snowed in.
That was the year before. It was the year before, I think. That was the year before. I didn't think we went last year.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I say last year, meaning that the last time we were there.
Yeah, the gang, yeah.
We've skipped a year. We fell asleep and skipped a year.
That was a whirlwind. Yeah, that was up drinking all night, playing in the snow, waking up the next day dying of a virus. But yeah, I was at the Goose Bar and these bunch of chaps were watching the football, and I just thought, oh, whatever, I've got hours to kill, sit there drinking a couple of beers. I'm not even joking, hours went by, and by the end of this time I was best mates with all of them, and I was cheering at going on with all this stuff, and I had no idea what was going on, but I was loving it. I was like, God, I could become a fan of this. Got home and forgot all about it, didn't I? Never thought about it again.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, listeners, this tells us a lot about Benji's personality, about what an affable, lovely guy he is. He'll fit in with whatever situation is going on.
Provided there's
ale. The adapter. He adapts to any situation. He will fit right on in.
It was the same at the Nuremberg rallies. He was exactly the same there.
Yeah, lovely bunch of guys. I was cheering by the end of it. Yeah. Yes, I even bought a pair of boots. Dear, oh dear.
Please.
And you learned a special walk.
Did you know, actually, here's a really interesting thing I did learn. When I went to Munich, I learned something really interesting.
Thanks, Nick.
And I can't not... It's a really interesting thing that... in the parade squares where Hitler used to do all that stuff, they laid down...
I believe we're talking about Hitler.
It's really interesting. They laid down loads and loads of gravel on the floor so that when they marched, it sounded 3 times as loud. So it sounded a lot more triumphant than it was. So, of course, now, whenever I walk over gravel, I only ever think of that fact. And it's ruined...
Don't start goose-stepping,
It's ruined my favourite hobby of walking over gravel.
Was stepping goose bar... I'm seeing a connection here.
I've been exposed. Right, pack the bags. We're going to Brazil. Dear, oh dear.
Yes. Oh, we remember that Benji and Nick show, the former Benji and Nick show, and Nick and Shelley show, where Benji was outed as a war criminal. Anyway,
now he resides in Rio de Janeiro, and he's had a complete plastic surgery job on his face.
I don't know. I'm on a line here between funny and offensive.
Yes.
Anyway, I don't know what. I didn't like Eva Green. That's what I'm saying. I find she's not my cup of tea. And also, I found it completely incredible that she was meant to be a member of the British government, and yet she was French. And in such a high-ranking treasury role, I don't think they would have... But I think we were meant to believe that she was English, but she sounded French, so...
Yeah, she is very French in it.
She is very French.
Of course,
and she's very, very popular. People love her, but whenever I see her name on the credits for something, I think, I'm probably not going to watch that. Is that bad?
No, I think we've all got certain, people like that we think, nah, not, it's not for me. Especially with Bond girls can make or break a film for me. Because if there's somebody in there that I'm not, that I find irritating. Like, for example, I don't know why, but The Spy Who Loved Me, I can't remember who the woman is in that.
Barbara Bach.
I just don't get on. I just don't like her in that film, and I can't.
She came round for a drink, and you didn't get on.
No, I didn't get on. She started talking about the war, and it all. She didn't.
Isn't she married to a Beatle?
Yeah.
Isn't she married to Ringo Starr? Is that Barbara Bach? And Catherine Bach was the one that was in an American TV show called Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh.
I believe that Barbara Bach is the one who's married to a Beatle. Or was.
Yeah.
Don't know their marital status.
Or an aunt.
Ringo Starr. This is a... Yes.
Is that my phone?
He's married to Barbara. You're completely correct. He's married to a Bond girl.
Hey, Shelley with the useless trivia.
That's an impressive useless trivia, though, isn't it? I bet he
I wish we don't have, like, you guys have, like, the trivia nights at pubs. Like, it's like a big thing, trivia over there. We don't do... That's so few and far between here in America. And I know that I would... Well... I don't frequent bars often because I don't drink, so
that makes it harder.
Yeah.
You've got to start it on Zoom. That's what you've got to do.
On Zoom?
Yeah. Shelley's Trivial Zoom.
It'll be you. It'll be you two. I'll get you two to
We're very trivial. Yeah. Gosh.
If anybody else wants to join, please send an email to
Shelley at Trivial Zoom.
Zoom.
.snore.
Dot snore.
Oh,
boy.
sorry.
That was the worst thing
trivial.
actually about the whole of the lockdown thing. Wasn't the fact that I couldn't go out and see my friends, wasn't the fact that I couldn't go to a pub, it's the fact that I had to sit through mindless hours of Zoom quizzes with people, and it's all this thing, oh, you're coming to the Zoom quiz. Like, no, I wouldn't want to do this in real life, let alone sit here in my spare time when I could be doing a million other things. And you know, and what took the biscuit for me was when I got failed on a question which I believe was right. They said, what was the last Beatles album to be recorded? So I said, Let It Be. So Let It Be was the final Beatles album. And I got told it was wrong, and then it wasn't Let It Be. It was, let me have a look here. I can't remember what one they said. I'll know it when I see it.
He's clearly very angry about it.
I am, because it's Let It Be is the final
Holding
Beatles
a
album.
grudge.
Yeah, they said it was Abbey Road, and admittedly the sessions were recorded round about the same time, but it's not the point, is it, really? It's not the point.
Have you just found out you were wrong?
No, I'm completely correct, but the sessions were at the same time, but it was the final album. But I got, I thought, no.
Did they say the final album to be recorded, though?
Well, it could be anything, couldn't it, really? Because
Or to be released.
Well, it's
recorded,
final album to be released.
I mean, what was the question? Now answer.
Answer the question, Mr. Blair. It was recorded, but I still think I'm right. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and look through it because I know I'm right. But there we go.
I'm not going to check any facts because I just know I'm right.
Fact of the matter is, after that, I thought I'm not having anything to do with this. I'm not going to lose on trivia. That's correct.
I did one quiz. It was like a family quiz with all the kids and everything, and it was just horrifically boring.
It's ghastly.
I actually kept leaving the room because I just wanted to smack my head against a wall.
Oh God! Well, the only way you can do it is grab a couple of beers and just hope for the best and hope that will get you through. Because quite frankly, not else will.
Well, I'd just become abusive then, so I wouldn't know.
And there's children around,
well,
so that's probably
that'll get
not
you out
the
of it
best
as well.
idea.
That might get you out of the quiz. Dear, oh dear.
Yeah. I'm sorry, my husband's become abusive.
We must leave. We must leave.
When you mentioned the Dukes of Hazzard earlier on, the only distinction the Dukes of Hazzard has for me is a negative one, in that it was shown in the Doctor Who slot back in the 70s, I think. Was it 70s, Dukes of Hazzard? Yeah. When Doctor Who wasn't on. So I would watch BBC One at that time and think, oh, if only Doctor Who was on it. It was the blooming Dukes of Hazzard instead. It was just
great representation of America.
Guys
driving around with the Confederate flag on their car.
Oh my God.
To be honest, I grew up thinking America was just the Wild West because that was all that was ever on the telly was just westerns all the time.
Well, Shelley is sitting there wearing a Stetson and
yeah, you can see the horse tied up to a little post behind her.
And it turns out they didn't used to wear hats like that anyway, did they?
I don't know. I wasn't around.
I wasn't insinuating you were.
I'm not that old, Nick.
Much younger than me. They used to just wear, hats, the big brimmed hats. That's almost exclusively an invention of Western movies. That they used to just wear like little bowler.
What we consider a cowboy hat is what you're talking about?
Yeah. A Stetson is a cowboy hat, isn't it?
A Stetson,
Or a 9-gallon hat, which is the round one, isn't it? Yeah.
No,
I know stuff about American hats that you don't know.
Well, because you watched westerns when you were a kid.
That's true.
So do you really? Do you really know the facts? No.
No, I don't.
No.
Not if you've watched Custer of the West as well, which is about as factually accurate as me talking about it.
I always think that John Wayne sounds like when you play a tape at the wrong speed. He sort of talks like this, and you want to say, "Look, hold on a minute, you got it wrong." He talks. He's actually meant to talk like that, but he doesn't. He talks like that. Just sounds like it's played at the wrong speed. Needs speeding up.
Yeah. You could say the opposite about the older movies where everyone talked like this. See,
very true,
we got the news here, and
Absolutely true.
So true.
Really
have John Wayne play opposite one of those people, and it's just your brain cannot even compute it at all.
The other actor would keep trying to jump in, because there'd be so many gaps, wouldn't there? A brilliant example of that fast talking is the British science fiction movie The Day the Earth Caught Fire, with Leo McKern.
That's a good film. And
it's all set in a newspaper office, the Daily Express, at the time of the Earth going off its axis, and it's a fantastic movie. But everyone's speaking very fast. It's really quite incredible.
I used to have a friend who worked
Michael Caine's in it in an uncredited part.
And he's editing like this. He tells no, people know that.
You just hear him in the background going, move along, please. Anyway, sorry.
I used to have a friend who he used to work night shifts, and his thing was that he'd watch movies on one of those, back in the day, those portable DVD players. And his thing that he would watch movies like longer, about 3 times the speed, basically. So he was like, I can crack through 3 movies in a shift. And he watched these things. He said, it involves a lot of concentration, but you can watch a 2-hour film in about half an hour. Why would you want to do that? Well, it's not about that. The point of watching a film isn't about the fact how many you've watched. It's about watching it and enjoying it. But there we go.
I agree.
And actually getting
completely.
all of it, understanding all of it, and hearing the dialogue. And
there are some things that if you speed them up slightly, it helps. Definitely does. If something's a bit slow.
No, you can't do that.
Oh, I don't know. I think just a little nudge makes all the difference.
All that understanding and getting the most out of movies. I must have told you both my anecdote about layer cake on the train. The Daniel Craig movie, the movie that got him James Bond, basically. I'm sure I've told this anecdote on the podcast before. This is like a repeat section, folks, of the podcast. So I'm just gonna
now you can fast forward. If you're listening on Stitcher, I know you can hit 2 times speed. So at this point, you can go ahead and hit that button.
And I'll talk like John Wayne, and so then I'll sound normal speed.
We'll all talk like this. Now.
Get off your horse and drink your milk.
You do know Layer Cake, don't you?
Yes.
Daniel Craig? No, it's a kind of crime movie. It got him the job of James Bond because he does a lot of posing around with a gun in it, and they thought, that guy's an incredible actor and he looks good with a gun. And they were right, of course. But it's quite a complex movie, It's that's one of the things about Layer Cake. It's like a layered cake. There's lots of layers to it as well, and there's a layer cake in it, I think. Anyway, I saw this guy. He got on a train opposite me. I was going to Cardiff to film Doctor Who. Funnily enough, that's to make this story vaguely interesting. And he sat there, sort of just opposite me, with a table there, and he went off to the where you buy the food. I can't remember what it's called. What's that called? I don't know.
Dining car.
That's in America. They call it a dining car.
They used to call it here, didn't they, in the old railways? But I know what you mean. The car with the food place on. Well, why can't I think of that really simple, obvious term? Anyway, because I've not been on a train for 6 months. That's why. He came back and he bought himself a bottle of red wine. And he got out a DVD player, and then he took the wrapping off a DVD he just bought at the station, and it was Layer Cake. And he put it in, and he sat there with his headphones on, started watching Layer Cake, started drinking the wine. He drank it pretty quickly. I was doing something else, reading or writing or something, and I looked over, and he'd finished the bottle of wine about 20 minutes into the journey. And then he just immediately went off, and he came back with another one. And then he drank that in the next 20 minutes as well. And then he got a phone call. He answered the phone. He stopped the movie. He answered the phone and said, "Hello?" And he went, "Yeah, I'm on a train. I'm watching a movie. Layer Cake. And I don't understand what's happening." I thought, really? Even when you're sober, that film's quite difficult to understand. And he's just had 2 bottles of wine in 40 minutes. Yeah, there's no chance of understanding Layer Cake when you've had that much booze. Terrible. He seemed really cool until that point. And I just was talking like that. You can't handle it. You can't handle it, Joe. This is
aren't we supposed to be watching Inferno?
No, we're watching Layer Cake, aren't we?
And drinking 2 bottles of wine.
Layer Cake. Yes, we're watching Inferno.
Yeah. Are you ready for this?
Almost.
Okay.
I have to put headphones in.
Okay.
Connect my Bluetooth.
Will you be able to hear us as well?
Yeah. I'm putting... Look.
Oh.
I've got headphone to one, headphone to the other.
She's double backed.
All right. And I'm queued up. So we're doing part 1.
Yeah, hold on. I don't know what to do because my BritBox has remembered that I've watched the first 3 minutes of this episode, and it keeps not wanting to play it from the beginning.
Smooth. Oh God. Okay.
You don't have the scrubby ability?
I do, but when I scrub it back, it will not play because this is the BritBox website, which is a pain in the anus. Yeah, the moment I bring it back, it just spools. I don't know what to do, really.
See, and I'm not the difficult one right now. Yay!
Yeah, well done. You win.
I win. What do I win? 2 bottles of wine and a DVD of layer cake.
Try moving it to the end, Nick.
Okay.
And it might then think you've already watched it.
Good plan. It's now going mad. Hold on. That's a good plan, Benji. I like it. Oh, and that says replay. Brilliant. Brilliant. Right, are we ready?
Yep.
So on this, it'll be 3, 2, and 1 is when we press play. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
There you go. One of my favourite title sequences of all time, the Pertwee title sequence. He looks like he's nice and happy, doesn't he? He's really chuffed.
Have you ever seen this title sequence before, Shelley?
No. This is my first time watching any classic other than 1.
Wow.
So what are you thinking so far?
I like it better than I didn't. Well, one of my big contentions was Peter Capaldi's title sequence. I did not like. I hated the gears, and so when he's my favorite Doctor, but I hated his title sequence. But that I really liked. It's very retro in my. Obviously, it wasn't. At the time it was modern, but.
What you're watching here is they often did these in the 60s, not so much the 70s, those little sequences that introduced all the episode title and everything.
Okay.
So I want you to bear in mind, this is very atypical Jon Pertwee because it's his first year. And in a way, it's nothing like the rest of the Jon Pertwee era.
Right.
It's
completely
very
different.
bleak. There's no specially composed incidental music. It's all weird stock tracks. Anyway.
But isn't this the last serial in that season?
It is, yeah, of that first year.
So they had all of those and they still hadn't hit the groove?
They absolutely hadn't. There's a really interesting article in the latest Doctor Who magazine about it, about how basically this 1970 series is really still the 60s because it was made in the 60s, and the 70s didn't start for Doctor Who until 1971, basically.
Well, I always think they were, as soon as like Terror of the Autons, which is, if I'm right, the following.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that feels great, and Pertwee is just the third Doctor in that one. Like for me, that is a real jumping on point. It's one of my favourite stories, anyway.
Yes, it is like the beginning, really.
It really is. Whereas I'll be brutally honest. This whole season itself, this series is not one that I'm particularly fond of.
I'm the opposite. I particularly like it because it's such an oddity.
I feel it feels more grounded in the real world. There's a bit more realism to it.
The actor in the boiler suit here, he's one of Douglas Camfield, who directed this, or most of it, before he became ill. He's one of his favourite actors. He usually gets him he used to get him in most things he directed. Shelley, you watched this before, didn't you? I
watched all 7 episodes.
Wow!
No way, really? You're kidding?
Well, you didn't have to.
How did you said to watch it, so I watched it.
Yeah, I thought you'd just watch episode 1.
As long as you enjoyed it.
Figured.
It didn't look like that miserable woman on there behind the bloke talking.
Well, see, you guys had the advantage because you've already seen this, so I needed to watch all of it to at least, because if I had just watched the first one, I would have absolutely no idea what this was about.
No, that's very good. Well, yeah,
because
you would have.
Is that a real beard? I'm saying no. Real beard?
No,
fake beard?
Sorry, you were saying, Shelley, what was
Sorry.
set up?
Oh, I'm easily distracted. Something shiny. Benji spoke and I don't know what I was saying.
You said something about the setup.
Yeah, just that the first, it was 7 episodes and it did not need to be. And so a lot of this episode and the second episode is a lot of, okay, all right, let's get to where we're getting. So if I'd only watched the first one, I would have been like, why did you make me watch this?
I think there's
Benji,
a lot of,
certainly
with this series, I love this music. And with this series, there's a lot of stories that I think are too long. I think the same about Ambassadors of Death. I think it's far too long and could be cut down a little bit. look at all this. This is fab, isn't it? All this. That's very 60s. That's 60s Doctor Who, isn't it?
Totally. Yeah.
What, the zooming in and the music? And
The music especially. That
was a stock piece of music composed by Delia Derbyshire, who was the arranger of the Doctor Who theme. There's that one called Blue Veils and whatever it's called.
Yeah, I can't remember the name, but yes, it was in what you were talking about the other day as well, Phase 4.
Yeah. Yes, it's in Phase 4, isn't it, the movie? Although not credited. So, yeah, I mean, this is the thing, Shelley. There are two reasons why it's so long-winded. One is that was what television was like in those days.
Right.
The other reason is that they limited themselves to fewer stories in this series because it's always expensive. When you have more stories, you have more setup costs for each story and the new setting. So they thought if they did longer stories, they'd have more money to play with within those stories rather than having to, you know what I mean, create new sets and new environments and hire different actors. And so that was their thinking.
I read, because I did research on it after watching it, that Don Houghton, is that how you say the writer's name?
Yeah.
He actually wrote it for 4.
Yeah.
So
and they
I was
boosted
right.
it. Yeah.
They could have done it in 4.
They needed to boost it to 7.
Yeah.
And so they created the alternative reality.
Yeah. And the Primords, whatever the werewolf guys are called.
Yeah, they're never called Primords on screen. They're only credited.
Yeah,
as
I only
Primords.
knew that because like I said, I Googled.
Because we did at Big Finish, we did a sequel to this called Primords, in which we introduced the idea that they decided to call them Primords.
Gotcha.
And Michael Troutman plays the part of a horrible military man. He said, "The Primords, we're now calling them Primords." He has this fantastic line. That's what he said. That's what we're calling them, Primords. Gosh. Look at young John Levine.
Wearing some surprisingly contemporary military gear compared to the Brigadier's outfit, which looks very old.
Well, that would have been Douglas Camfield's influence because he was all into military accuracy, and I bet it really pained him that he was stuck with the Nicholas Courtney's fantasy uniform there.
The thing is as well about this particular time in Doctor Who is there's more so than other times is the location work for a lot of John's run was really standout and superior, I think. Like this story, for example, it looks and feels real. Trim
when they're outside. Oh yeah, the trim phone. I did an interview with Carrie John, who plays Liz Shaw in this, and we went round filming at the locations done for this series, season, I should say. And we went to a place for Inferno, but of course she never went to any of the locations.
She was on set the whole time.
Exactly. So a running joke in the Mythmakers interview that we did was, I was saying, so this was the gasometer used in Inferno. And she said, really? No idea. Never came here. We just said that. That was a glorious day I spent with her, one of the loveliest people. Sadly, no longer with us.
She's one of those people that I've never heard anybody say a bad word about her, that she's just got the nicest reputation. And I wish there could have been more for Liz Shaw.
Yeah.
Because I think she was a fantastic character as well.
Yeah, Shelley, this is her last story.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to find out why, and because I guess there was no hoobla of her leaving, and it was because she was pregnant.
Yeah.
And so that's why she couldn't continue to film.
But they don't give her any. It's really unfair.
Yeah,
and she's
just vanishes, and then Joe appears in the next one.
Here's Derek Newark, who was one of the guest actors in the very first Doctor Who story, playing a caveman.
The guy playing Sutton.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he played Za. I read that. I saw that serial.
There was a huge problem when they were filming this because he came in his original gear and they had to tell him to go and get changed. He said, "I got it down from the loft."
You're not a caveman.
You're not reprising the. I've developed him. He's got this whole arc which we're going to do.
He's going to go.
He's a scientist now.
This time he says, "Where has the drill gone? No, where has the fire gone?" He's brilliant, isn't he? He's like
great.
he's come in from some grown-up program, isn't he? Doesn't quite. I don't know what I'm doing in Doctor Who. This is all a bit ridiculous, isn't it?
I came here to change the bulbs.
I love the way that Shelley puts us to shame, where she's done proper research. Because we think we know it all, but she's actually looked it up.
She knows it all.
Well,
That's the
because I'm
difference.
learning as I go, you know? So I haven't had the luxury of having grown up with this and just having it, you know, be put into my brain through osmosis or however you guys have done it.
Yeah.
And you know, doing what you do for a living also has contributed to your knowledge. But no, I like to look things up, because when I don't understand something, I like to get an idea and try to wrap my head around it and understand, because I had a lot of questions about this.
Do you want to ask some?
I just what I don't understand, and this is my biggest question, is they're drilling to get through the Earth's crust to get to the special energy force, whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
Stallman's gas.
So, right, which is named because of him.
Yeah.
So, in most sci-fi, when you have a mysterious goo that all of a sudden appears and starts turning humans into something else,
Yes.
it's a precursor for what's to come. So it's kind of like a warning saying, you know, if you keep digging, you're going to let something out. And then so they keep digging and nothing really gets let out, and it's the Earth just
Except potentially
explodes
the
or
destruction
whatever.
of the Earth. Yeah,
Right.
they're not going to let
So-
something out. It's just going to destroy the Earth. Yeah.
Right. But so what's the point of the primords?
I think that's a really good question, by the way. I think it really is.
Thank you very
I think
much.
Don Houghton wrote a story about drilling into the Earth and potentially destroying it. And I think Terence Dicks said to him, "This is Doctor Who. You need a monster." And I think they said,
Right.
"Well, how about the goo that comes out makes people monsters?" And yeah, that'll do. Because they were up against
I mean, if
it.
you really get
serves
technical
a
about
purpose, doesn't it?
the sci-fi aspect of it, okay, they live in heat, obviously, because they want everything to get hotter. So why are they covered in fur?
I have no idea.
Because you
The
know what I mean,
Primords,
like
yeah, they are the silly bit of
illogical.
this story.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah,
They
and
are the
it
add-on.
was
Definitely added
seeing
on.
the transformation of one of them. I don't remember if it was this first guy or I don't know who it was, but it was I felt like that the person when they made American Werewolf in London, when they were doing that transformation, I thought they saw this episode of Doctor Who and said, I can do that, but I can do it better.
Let's do it properly with money.
Yeah.
Like with the hands, you know, when the claws start coming out and the skin breaks apart, like in the movie.
It's like I mean, the way they do it here is like every bad Jekyll and Hyde movie did the transformation before. Yeah. So, I mean, it was in good company. That's how things were done in those days.
Yeah,
Different
no, and
world.
I get that.
That's, of course, is, Henry Gordon Jago, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Jago and Lightfoot. He later... You're not aware of Jago and Lightfoot, are you, Shelley?
I am.
Oh, you are?
I am.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
that was Jago.
Welcome to the Inferno. Christopher Benjamin.
Christopher Benjamin, yeah. Brilliant.
I love that cape.
Oh, isn't it great?
Wasn't it his grandfather's cape, wasn't it?
I love it.
Well, that's certainly what he used for the photo call. Whether that's what he used for the series, I'm not sure.
It's true. It's interesting how his, pretty much, like you say, everything about his character pretty much changes, including his outfit, his hair, everything, pretty much, the whole shebang.
Well, this, as you'll read from the article in Doctor Who magazine this month, they didn't expect Doctor Who to survive this year.
Oh.
They couldn't think of anything to replace Doctor Who with, and they gave Barry Letts the job to produce it, who'd never produced anything before in his life, because no other BBC producer would take the job.
Wow.
They said, all right, look, do Doctor Who, but come up with a new series to replace it afterwards, because the viewing figures for Doctor Who had plummeted throughout the Troughton era to a terrible degree. Barry Letts said the viewing figures got so low that the line went off the bottom of the chart.
Oh my goodness.
So he was given a terrible show that no one wanted to do. It's almost like Derek Sherwin cast a new doctor just to ensure that the programme didn't end straight away. But what happened was that Cliff Richard agreed to do a BBC entertainment show on Saturday evenings, and that formed the centre of a really popular schedule which trashed ITV's attempts, and Doctor Who was part of that popular schedule. Cliff Richard was getting 13.1 million viewers.
Wow.
But Doctor Who, because people were tuning into the BBC to watch Cliff Richard later, John Pertwee's first season was getting 8 million, which was, in some cases twice as much as Patrick Troughton's Doctor had got. So bizarrely, they suddenly realised that Doctor Who was part of a winning formula for the Saturday evening, and rather than replace it, they thought, well, let's stick with the formula we've got because it's winning. So in a way, Cliff Richard secured the continuation of Doctor Who.
Cliff,
According to Alan Barnes, my dear friend, who wrote the fantastic article in Doctor Who magazine, which I just happened, coincidentally, to read last night. I always worry about how the Doctor got the console out of the TARDIS. Discuss.
I like to think he, ruined a lot of wallpaper and paint, all scratched all sorts of things, had to get it downstairs.
I mean, it's too wide to get out of the door. That's what I'm saying. How does it get out of the door?
He probably got a trans-dimensional device that shrunk it. He brought it out, placed it down, then made it big again.
Shelley, does this seem reasonable to you?
Sure, yes.
What was it? Block transfer computation. That's what he used.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Thanks for saying that first, Benj.
You're very welcome.
There's John Pertwee looking at Carrie John saying, "You're on your way out, love. Bye.
See you later."
I've had a word with Barry Letts, and I want someone younger. Thank you.
Goodbye.
They messed up her image. Every episode, she had a completely different hairdo stroke wig. It's almost like they didn't want people to remember who she was.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of there were a lot of sort of central points to her character, in a sense. Like when she first starts, she's incredibly garishly dressed in a sort of incredibly 60s way, and then here it's very, very mellowed out, isn't it?
Now, Shelley,
so
yes.
As someone who's only largely watched New Who. Oh, there he is. There's the comedy hair.
A wig
hairy
stuffed
palms.
down his sleeve.
I love the ring modulation on their breathing as well. All that stuff. Do you, straight question,
Yes.
does this seem anything like the same programme as Doctor Who as you know it?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
I can answer that without any hesitation, yes.
Why is
that? My love for the Doctor Who show is that there's this character who is just so pure in his beliefs and his actions and everything, her, I shall say. And the fact that multiple actors have played the character. One of the things I can say is every time I watch a Doctor Who story, I say, can I picture another one of the actors playing this, saying those words? And most of the time I can. It's like a little game I play with myself where I'll picture like the first Doctor, I'll picture the seventh Doctor playing, like saying the lines that the 13th Doctor says.
Yes.
And I think, that works for me. And so I can do that with this. Yes, this is a much darker, wasn't wrapped up in a happy little bow at the end for everyone involved, at the end of this. But sorry.
Just distracted by John Pertwee's
the wibbly wobbly face.
All these were in-camera effects, by the way. They're not post-production effects. That's a mirror distorting and the lens thing rotating around to make his face go.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He's in his element,
but yeah,
isn't he,
so
here, though?
If that answered the question,
it does.
I do see this as if they could do this script now, but obviously tweak it a little and stuff, but it would still work.
Yeah, the basic story would work, and they'd explain more about the goo and the primords a bit better, probably.
Yeah.
I would say something that modern television does that television like this never did is modern television is very, very concerned with making sure the audience understands the format and the character. And so there are a lot of things in modern shows, especially Doctor Who, where they're constantly restating the format, and the Doctor is talking a lot about who she is and what she stands for, so that anyone who drifts in on it goes, oh, that's what this show's about. Whereas these shows don't do that at all. They assume you know about it, and then the Doctor just behaves in this episode he's behaving in a very sort of, yes, just correct that circuit, will you, and I'm going to try this list. It's all about plot, and it's
assumed
very
knowledge, isn't it?
It's very little about saying, this is what I'm about. You know what I mean? It's more like everyday life, but with science fiction. You know, because we don't all go around, unless we're having a counselling session, telling people what we stand for and what we fundamentally believe. We mostly ask, is the coffee on? Or, you know what I mean? Or are we going shopping today? And this is the sci-fi equivalent of that, isn't it? They're just sort of getting on with stuff. The Doctor doesn't say here, I've just travelled to another dimension. I've been to many dimensions before, but this was very weird. And you know what I mean? He doesn't talk about himself. It's very old-fashioned, button-down British attitudes. You know, everyone's unemotional. They're all holding back on stress and emotion all the time. That's me speaking for a long time. I've now stopped.
I think you're completely bang on the money with that, to be honest. Different, you know, same sort of theme, but very different approaches to making Doctor Who, isn't it, really? I think that bloke with the beard, I think if he shaved his head, he'd look like Lenin. really look like Lenin as well.
So would most people if they had a beard like that. And
yeah, but he's really Lenin-y.
Yeah. Apparently he was quite a tricky customer.
What, Lenin?
No, I'm not commenting on Lenin. No, that actor.
This is the episode about dictators, ladies and gentlemen.
As we moved on to another regime.
Yes.
They couldn't think of a good way to end this episode, so they put an alarm on in the background.
Just a bit of chaos.
It always means the end of the episode's coming.
I have to admit, though, I've always thought... Oh, sorry, carry on.
There's an attitude here from the Doctor about computers that he doesn't like them or trust them. And Patrick Troughton's Doctor says that quite a bit in The Invasion, which is not now a view that the Doctor would have, that computers are a bad thing, that we have a view now that computers are a tool. But in those days, people were much more suspicious of technology.
Well, because they're trying to read something on a quarter-inch little ticker tape.
I mean, why on earth is that woman wearing that outfit? Why on earth is she going to be in a lab? You know,
that's in my notes. I wrote that down.
Still the 1960s, basically.
Yeah, all these
darling.
People. He does just sort of remind me of some bloke who's a plumber or something, isn't he? You know, all right, so I'll do the pipes in a minute. Well, first of all, what's going on with all these alarms about? Let me have a go. I'm good at this sort of thing. It's a valve. I've seen one of these before. I'll look in the van for a replacement.
He epitomises the practicality of this episode, though, doesn't he? The end's monster. Doctor Who, there's a monster.
It's a man bursting out of a cupboard. There we go. Episode 1. Love it. Great old story, that one.
So, what are since you're the newcomer to this kind of Doctor Who, Shelley, can you sum up your thoughts
on just that episode, or knowing what I know about the rest of it?
All of it, yeah. Well, whatever you feel is necessary.
Well, just that episode, very confused. Just because, you know, they tried to explain what's going on, but it's that again. I'm flummoxed by the werewolf guy. That brought me so much confusion. But that said, I you know, for my first watching of a Third Doctor episode, I thought this is a great one. You know, I really feel like that was a good one for me to start with. And I do very much look forward to, gonna go back and start from the beginning and do the old Watch every single one.
All
the
third
Doctors.
Doctor. Oh, well, go back. Treat yourself and start with Spearhead from Space. Go from there. What's a fantastic Pertwee episode? I think I've got a funny feeling we might force you to watch another random Pertwee episode next week because Benji wants to catch up with Planet
I've got
of
to
the
finish
Daleks.
one. I think we have to finish one to start another because that way it gives people closure. My view.
So you've got to watch Planet of the Daleks this coming week then.
Okay.
Shelley.
That's
and then we're going to do a commentary of episode 6 because over the last few months we've been doing the odd episode of it now and again.
So Planet of the Daleks.
So you might want to watch the first couple maybe to be ready.
I'm
going to
watch. I'll watch all of it because that's just who I am. I'm a completionist. I have to.
I realised this. It's amazing. Right.
Person.
And now
I actually was when I first started watching this first episode. All I kept thinking in the first 5 minutes, should I go back and watch the series before this? Because what if I'm missing something and I really need to know?
Oh,
so
wow!
I just jumped in. I went against my better, my intuition of needing to, like if I'll pick up a book, I'll start reading a book, and I'll realize it's like the third in a series, and I'll go, oh, well, I can't read this. I have to read the first two. So that's my insanity.
You end up back at the dinosaurs. I'm just introducing Jamie Anderson, folks. What?
Look at Jamie's face.
That's a bit rude, Shelley.
What? I can't see
what?
anything.
He doesn't even see it.
Oh, sorry. I've got. Very good.
Hercule Poirot.
He's got a little superimposed moustache. I'll make it a bit bigger.
I expect a lot of this, Jamie. A lot of twiddling of it.
You look like the Monopoly man.
This screen is so terrible. Jamie sent me a graphic the other day, and I was saying, so the lettering isn't showing up, and Jamie's saying, well, give me an example of something else. And eventually I viewed it on a different computer, and it was really clear. I thought, oh God, he just thought I was insane.
Yes.
That moustache hardly shows up on this screen.
That's very sad. Let me find something better. I mean, this is completely pointless for an audio podcast. But,
Yeah, well done.
Part of
Jamie sends me lots of animations of him doing various amusing speeches. Oh, an eye patch! An eye patch! How brilliant! We were discussing eye patches. We just watched Inferno episode 1.
Oh, no! So that is perfect. I had no idea.
I mean, Shelley knows that the eye patches don't turn up for a couple of episodes, but there is an eye patch, isn't there, in Inferno?
Yes. And commenting on Nicholas Courtney looks very good with an eye patch, I must say.
Yes, he likes that as well, with the dueling scar. He used to talk about that a lot.
My dueling scar.
So it's too disgusting to think what might be underneath that eye patch. So, Jamie, Inferno, have you ever watched it?
I haven't watched it for years, but it was probably one of the first 5 Doctor Who VHSs I ever owned, and I found it quite scary as a small child.
It is quite a scary story.
It's bleak, isn't it? It's bleak.
It is, but I mean, even the sort of slightly ropey sort of prostheses / furry, wolfy
Wrist wigs.
green wrist wigs. Thank you. yes, that's there must be an official term for wrist wigs. But even those, I found those much more scary than some of the sort of Tom Baker era bubble wrap. Alienness. I don't know. There was something quite visceral about the whole thing about Inferno. So yes, it makes me feel slightly uncomfortable. Was it because
they were humans that turned into monsters?
I don't know if it was in that, but there's a lot of kind of pained growling and roaring, isn't there, going on?
Yes, very ring modulated.
Which is scary.
Upsetting for a child.
Last time I heard that was Krakatoa in 1883.
Yeah, that's right. That's what he says, isn't it? That sort of strange
Well
squealing.
done.
The idea that the primords are
Thank you.
squealing like a volcano. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Although we did talk about the primords. What do you think of the primords and their position in the plot, Jamie?
Does it tell you that I haven't watched Inferno for about 10 years and I can't remember anything about the primords in the plot?
Well, there isn't anything. They basically they've just been put in there. We think my opinion is that Terence Dicks said it's a very nice story you've written here about the world blowing up because of drilling a hole in it, Don. But what we really need is a monster. And he goes, yeah, fine, it's hairy blokes. Yeah, brilliant, fine. I'll put some
Green hairy
alternative around
blokes.
here. Yeah. Brilliant. Green robots.
Robots.
Green is the colour of danger. I loved Terence Dicks. I'm
Lovely
very
man.
sad he's no longer with us. Well, you see, this is the longest podcast in history, I just have to tell you, by the way.
Oh, Jesus, Jamie.
An hour and 15 minutes here at the moment.
Are we going on a
Wow.
bit?
What app are you using to do this? He's now on a television screen.
This is the new
He
thing
did
I
the
love
rainbow
Lucy.
for
thing.
Zoom, isn't it? Yes, there's another
Yeah,
good telly one.
Zoom's got new video filters, basically.
Has
So
it? Will my Zoom have those video filters?
If you've updated it, I mean, this again.
No
The
idea.
Benji and Nick show is sponsored by Zoom.
I've only got
choose
virtual
background.
background. Is that it?
No, it gives you the video filter
No.
Video
option if you've got everything that you really
I did
need.
update it.
Anyway,
I'm very cross.
clearly not enough.
No, enough. Update it more. God, he's now wearing a mortarboard.
I want to go and watch Inferno now, though.
Yeah, you should do. Oh, Benji's got it. Benji's
Yeah.
on
I
stage.
can't figure it out.
What have you got on your head? Oh, he's got a little hair. He's
Aw.
got a halo like the Saints. That's brilliant. Just think of all the matting trouble they went to back in the day to do this sort of thing, and we can just do it
Where
by
am I
clicking.
clicking to get this?
Preferences?
Preferences,
Zoom
background,
preferences.
and filters.
I've just got virtual background. That's what I've got.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hours of fun could be had here potentially.
Well, anyway, so next week, Jamie. Oh, a little French beret. Very good. This is
Oui,
fascinating
oui.
on audio. Oh, he's wearing a mask now. That's very appropriate. Very
Okay, well.
of the moment. Shelley and I are completely
Here.
left out.
Shelley has real props.
What is that? That's a red nose you've
It's
put
Red
on.
Nose Day. Nose. I use it to cover my camera
Oh.
when I'm doing stuff. I just put this right over my camera, and the FBI agent who watches me can't watch me anymore.
Nice.
There's no paranoia on this podcast.
No, not in America at all. None.
So we are watching Planet of the Daleks episode 6 next week. That's
God,
what we're
you're
doing.
finally getting through that, are you?
We're gonna get to the end of it. Yeah.
That's been going for about
And I'm
4
going to watch the
years.
whole shebang.
Oh,
Has it,
perfect.
Benji, has it got the "We can never leave here, never, never"? Has that got?
I can't remember if has that already happened, hasn't it?
Oh, I think it
Because
probably
Western
has.
pulled. It's already happened.
That's right.
I'll let you know.
Yeah. Enjoy. It's a nice studio-bound jungle set for 6 episodes
One of my favourites. Honestly, one of my favourites.
with a
So
flat floor.
Enjoy it with the very flat, nice floor.
So that the Daleks don't bump around too much, although they somehow manage to do so anyway. They're obviously going over camera cables every now and again.
Ow. And
Bless
squirty flowers.
Oh yeah, nasty.
Watch out for those.
Okay. I'm making
So-
a note of that. Squirty flowers.
sounds like
Yeah.
a name of a comedian, doesn't it? And now, Squirty
Ladies and
Flowers.
All right, Chucky, I'm Squirty Flowers. So, Jamie, do you... Oh, yes, a red nose would suit him, Shelley. Jamie, since we've dragged you onto the podcast just before you got to go and have a very important meeting, have you anything you want to talk about?
And do it with a French accent to match your hat.
I'm definitely might be possibly racist. I'm not doing that. Well, I could talk to you about this amazing new book.
Oh, that happens to be right by you there.
Yeah, Space Precinct Demeter City.
Yes, what about it?
It's a book and it's out on the 3rd of September.
All right.
Yeah, it's the original opening story for Space Precinct, which you did actually like, unlike Terrorhawks.
Yes. Yeah, I did like it.
Oh, boy.
Could you read us a sentence from it?
Yes, I'm going to
In a
flick.
French
I'm going to
accent.
flick through it, and then when you just shout "stop, Benji," and I'll
Okay.
stop.
Okay.
Ready? Here we go.
Stop, Benji.
Hey!
Deakin thought back to that night in the warehouse. Nothing. Gibbs would have talked. They blew him up too quickly. There you go.
Wow.
I mean,
Was he a rubber doll or something?
Or an inflatable mattress, I was thinking.
nah, neither of those things. I think they were actually talking about proper Jerry Anderson style blowing up. Remember,
Everything
this is,
blows up. I think any sentence you'd read in a Jerry Anderson story would have an explosion in it.
Exactly. Even inflatable sex dolls are packed with 40,000 tons of TNT in the worlds of Jerry Anderson.
I'm sure they are. There's a whole series there we could create.
That's the blurb for the front of the book right there.
That beret is having a real hard time of shaping itself to your head when you move sideways. It sort of does a beret dance. That's just weird.
Invasion of the berets.
I'd like to call a halt to this podcast now.
Yes, sorry, I shouldn't have played around too much, should I?
No, for goodness sake, as you know, it's a very serious podcast.
Oh, yes. Terrible. Anyway, thanks for having me and my beret and my moustache.
It's a pleasure, mate. I'm sure there's something we should have discussed with you, but I'm close to the microphone, so I'm going to say don't forget to send your emails to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. And from me, Nick Briggs, it's goodbye.
From me, Benji C, it's could be.
And for me, Shelley Dean, it's bye.
And my beret says bye as well, bye.
Pressing stop now. Ka-chunk.
Ka-chunk.
Ka-chink.